Of divine
bliss and intractable bliss stir.
Yeah, you might not think so after this first two poems. Welcome everybody to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. I'm Thundercloud. Mum calls me James, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. Let's have some linguistic fun and games.
Well said.
Yeah.
Aye.
All right. We've got a show for you tonight, so everybody's got something to do, or most of us. I'm going to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we broadcast, the Kamilaroi and Banbai people, and the continuing connection to the land of the elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty's never been ceded by any First Nation across this place called Australia. I've been to Glen Innes and I went up to Badger's bookshop, and Badger up there in Glen Innes has got a fantastic bookshop and he needs to sell a whole heap of books because he's got to get an operation or something like that. Now he wasn't there, but Nemo was there, his grandson, and I think I got about only about, I don't know, 15 or so new books for the poetry library once again. But I'm not going to read out of all of those, just a couple tonight, and one that I got a few weeks ago, a month or so ago, from Boo Books in Armidale by Lionel Fogarty. This is new and selected poems, Munaldjali and Mutuerjaraera. So beginning with some pretty intense words here. This book here was published in, from memory, 1995, just a couple of years after his brother, and warning to any First Nations viewers that I'm going to use the name of a deceased First Nations person. His brother Daniel Yock died in police custody after being picked up from Musgrave Park as an 18-year-old. He was taken from the watch house to hospital. He died in hospital, and because he died in hospital, he wasn't at that time counted as a death in custody, which was totally outrageous because he was young, 18-year-old, fighting fit when he was picked up, and to somewhere between the Musgrave Park, the watch house and hospital, he got badly beat up. Anyway, so the first poem that I'm going to do is, this book is dedicated to Daniel Yock, or Myra Sweeney, which is his skin name. He was born the 7th of February 1975 and he died the 7th of November 1993. And the first poem is by Daniel Yock. It was written on the 28th of April 1993. It's called Air. Walk on my own, talk on my own, voice I hear, steps I hear. Alone I see, alone I hear, alone my own. I give to pour, I give to receive, I give my last. Love is my pride, love is a strong word, love strong, love lost. Daniel Yock.
Does it end printed so with his name at the end?
Yeah, and the date. Yeah.
Sad, eh?
So this next one is now written by his brother Lionel Fogarty, or Mutuerjaraera, as he's also. I think that's him. No, actually, no. Sorry, that's the guy who wrote his introduction here. Lionel Fogarty, before I come, death in custody. I, in a jail, even a Murray wouldn't know. If him free, the land is not free, dreamtime is not free, no money needed. See that scared hand at work that's cutting away to freedom. Freedom. Jail not for me. But a lot of my people in jail, why, jail are cruel. Set up the family, stay away, come to see your Murray, look big and growing. In learning of our God's teaching, what they give you in here, away from the corroboree in the fucking jails. Murray, get out so we can fight like the red man has done. Lord, them a come, my brother die there in white custody. And I hate the way the screws patch up and cover up. He died at the white hands. It was there in the stinking jails. Up to you, might blacks, him not free. For when white man came, it's been like a jail with a wife and family. Black man can stay in jail like it's home. Fuck, they hung us all. So yeah, the serious stuff out of the way. Let's move right along. Horrible. And if I can make any comment on that after, I can't really make any comment as a descendant of a settler. What can I say? But that really sucks, and it's time that we looked at a non-punitive justice system, perhaps a restorative justice system that, or something like traditional law originally was, where if you did someone wrong, then you fixed up your wrong with that person that you did wrong. Anyway.
Well, you can stand tall in your own justice, James, like everyone else does. There's justice everywhere in the world, not just in minorities.
Yeah. So this next one is Poems Soft and Loud by Geoffrey Dutton.
Oh! Hurrah!
Sun and moon. After that tired hour when, with the stirring of loving after love, the moon is embraced by the false dawn, then there comes that slow dark time when the passion of light is drained and the waking birds are waiting until the true red fire thrusts high, and soon the round-backed moon is lost in the blue sky, like one broken wave in a calm sea. No one noticed later what time the moon had set behind the flowering gum tree full of bees.
Oh, very good.
Lovely, yeah.
Reminded me of some pieces of Peter Sculthorpe's music.
Going back now in time to, I think this one is Victor J Daley, at Dawn and Dusk Poems. This book is from 1898. It was published. So I've got to be careful. Dreams. I've been dreaming all a summer day of rare and dainty poems I would write, love lyrics delicate as lilac scent, soft idyls woven of wind and flower and stream, and songs and sonnets carven in fine gold. The day is fading and the dusk is cold. Out of the skies has gone the opal gleam. Out of my heart past the high intent, into the shadow of the falling night. Must all my dreams in darkness pass away? I've been dreaming all the summer day. Shall I go dreaming until life's light fades in death's dark dusk and all my days are spent? Ah, what am I? The dreamer but a dream. The day is fading and the dusk is cold. All right, so on that note, that's it for my poetry out of other people's books tonight. I'm going to, because we've got quite a few poets up here tonight, I'm going to get the show moving and keep the show moving with Rob Baker.
Hey,
ensemble.
come on, Rob.
Do you want this?
Oh, yeah, sure.
This is where the drama begins. visor of your other role of finder. The egg finder, 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 the egg finder. Here's a song me and my father and my sister wrote about my grandfather. He was the greatest horseman ever to come out of New England. He rode Far Lap twice in 1929, including when Far Lap won its first race at Rosehill Racecourse. It's called The Ballad of Jackie Baker. Thank you.
Wow. Rock and Rob. Ah!
Woo! Yeah, I like that. Thank you very much, Rob. And Steve
for providing the percussion.
Thanks, Steve.
Many laps going far.
For laps. Well, on that, I'm going to take this opportunity to invite the very next poet up who has already been up here, Steve.
Oh, hey. Oh, why not?
Yeah. Steve Wordsmith, living legend of 2021 of Australian poetry.
Hello, everybody. Gee,
Make him
you know, it's always wonderful to be here on Wednesday nights at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame.
Is that still said?
Oh well, you know, where does men go? My old man's a dustman, he wears a dustman's hat, he wears corblimy trousers, and he lives in a council flat. One day from out a window a voice began to wail, "Hey, where's me tiger's head? 6 foot from its tail." Oh, it ain't gonna rain no more, no more, it ain't gonna rain no more. How in the dickens can a cat have chickens if it ain't gonna rain no more? Well, a man lay down by a sewer, and by that sewer he died, and on the coroner's report they called it suicide. Well, it ain't gonna rain no more, no more. Ain't gonna rain no more. How in the heck can you wash a dirty neck if it ain't gonna rain no more? Well, a peanut lay on a railroad track. His heart was all a-flutter. A train came rolling down the track. Yo-ho for peanut butter. Sometimes you get tough and unaware of something and you've got to drop into something that, you know, is... I think that might have been one of Jackie Drake's, you know, character building things from in the past and such, you know. But yeah, we have stories that we tell, eh? You know, I know it's interesting when you put a mic in front of people, the way that we use mics and such, you know, and it's good to be able to emphasise and use our mics. But I'm a fairly loud character anyway, so I'll probably step to the back of this and not overemphasise or come over the top, like, you know, because, see, people say, oh my goodness, where does a bloke like you come from? See, I was brought up in the country in a place called Wedderburn, on the side of the Georges River with the stags and the elks and the ferns. There wasn't many luxuries, no, things weren't very plush. But we had this long drop dunny called the orifice of the bush. There's one thing that I know for sure, and I spent a lot of time just doodling in the dirt there. And I even wrote some rhyme, a place to fantasise and figure out. But everything was true. A hideout from the washing up like young lads often do. I'd always lift the lid up to avoid a bit of fright, to eradicate the chances of the dreaded redback bite. Like mum's old chook, I'd settle in with me pants around me knees to the sound of the neighbour's rampant bull and fruit bats in the trees. Like a medieval king, I'd sit upon his gilded throne, my favourite place, I must admit, in our lovely country home. Yes, I'm a connoisseur of dunnies, of this it is a fact, a place to try, a place to check before I hang my hat. I remember when I left the bush in a council house in town, there was an outhouse out the back, yeah, a place to settle down. It wasn't quiet as our country home, but it had all the mods and cons. Running water, electric light, and an oven to cook scones. I'd only been there a week, I think, when I awoke with an awful fright. There was a shadow past the window in the middle of the night. I'd heard about these prowlers and their low-down thieving tricks, but they'd taken on the wrong bloke this time, this lad from out the sticks. Well, I hit that floor a-running. There wasn't time to put on clothes. I'll get that flaming larrikin and I'll probably break his nose. Through the front door quietly, the blood was pumping fast. I'd stop him at the gate, I thought, as the bare feet hit the grass. I was running up the footpath with me booty, his booty on his back. I'd played rugby in my school days and I'd stop him in his track. Well, I hit him round the ankles and he had nowhere to go. Yeah, I dropped him like a dunny lid and all he said was, "No!" The smell was something awful. I'd never live her down. I'd nailed the poor old dunny man and I'd dropped him on the ground. There was excretion all across the grass and right across the road. The lid had left the dunny can and he dropped the flaming load. Well, throughout my years of wandering, I think I've tried the lot. There's the environmental sound ones, there's flush lavatories, and there's pots. There's collectors of pubs, of pins, of bottle stamps and plants, but I'm the international. No, universal secretary of the place you drop your pants. I've tested loos across this land and I've tried the loos abroad. There's the ones you pull the chain on, there's authentic ones, and there's frauds. But there's nothing in comparison when you have to strain and push as a good old Aussie dunny and the orifice of the bush. Have a lovely day and thanks as always.
Oh, always entertaining, Steve Wordsmith. Thank you very much. So, now if I get the story straight, the orifice of the bush was written up there for the oracles of the bush?
That's what it was.
Okay, the oracles of the bush is the tend to feel like poets and storytelling.
That was the first year of the oracles.
Okay, all right. Yes, well, in poetry news, is it Bruce Daw Poetry Prize is open at the moment. You can find the details on the University of Southern Queensland website where Bruce Daw lectured for many years. I think it's open till the 6th of June and you can submit up to 5 poems. So you can have a splattergun approach.
Great man.
Mm.
He was a great man, Bruce.
This one, after this, I've got Gladys coming up. Right, this is called the Magic Unicorn Oracle. It's funny, I selected this earlier that should come after the orifice, the oracle.
Well,
yeah. And see, the Magic Unicorn Oracle card that I pulled out was the Love Heals Fear card. A magical unicorn came to me and said, love heals fear, even the blind can see. And if you act from love and make a start, you'll overcome fear with a magnetic heart. Because angry people are afraid of being hurt from the choice they made as their anger pushes people away. Be kind to the angry, the unicorns say. No one wants to live in anger or fear, pain or suffering. 1 second of the year, there's beauty in everyone, and this is the healing. Love conquers anger and the fear feeling. So if someone's angry, the unicorns warn, respond with love, not a spiky angry horn. If you respond with anger, you multiply the feeling, but love conquers fear, and this is the healing. Woo. That was written on the 18th of November 2020. So, and that's what then when that card came to me. So I'll invite my love Gladys up.
As always.
And I'll put the microphone down.
Yeah, you better drop it down a bit.
Oh, I'm sorry, drop it down something. Oh, Jane, that's excellent, thank you. Thank you for that comment anyhow. I don't know where I deserved it, but anyway, yeah. Good evening everyone. It's lovely to be here tonight again. The Poetry Hall of Fame. I thank you all for coming. Just a little group here and we really have a good time. I'm almost finished too, the rocking chair. So it's coming up probably, well most likely will be next week. I'll have to find it next week. But I'm writing one tonight that's a relative of mine, and this lady has passed away a number of years ago. But she wrote a lot of poetry and was born here. And this from Myra Sweeney. This is called The Pineys. They come out to Australia from a distant country and settled in New England. and reared their family. They cleared away the trees, built their home and fences too, ploughed the field and planted crops in a country that was new. The children grew up and took up their selections, clearing new and virgin land, going in all directions. They opened up this country with blood, sweat and tears, and they did it all in just about 100 years. They gave it to their sons who worked in this land some more, overcoming many hardships as their fathers did before. They ploughed the ground with horses and harvested the crops by hand. They did it all in the hard way, living off the fertile land. They then handed it all down to us with old and toil-worn hand. They gave us something that they loved, the rich lands of New England. Now time has marched along, and it's another 100 years, and we owe this lucky country to the spirit of the Pineys. The hard work has all been done. Now we've got science on our side, but they left us with a heritage that we can claim with pride. Myra Sweeney, as I said, relate to me because my great-grandmother was a Ramage. The two great-grandmothers, actually. So Glenda that comes in here, that used to come in here to the markets is related, so yeah. But anyway, Jess, that's good. But okay, thank you, guys. I'll get that.
All right. Thank you, Gladys.
If I take that it's hard with the spoon. You start a few good words and you have yeah.
So, yeah, thank you very much, Gladys, for your little history reading to New England there. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Doug is next on the list, and then Paul is after that. Ashley, Gabriel, and that's the running order for the rest of the evening. Doug, Paul, Ashley, Gabriel, yourself, myself. Doug, come on up.
So you can know it.
Oh, you don't have to, mate. You don't have to kiss it. Yeah.
Bonjour. Where's all right, Michael? Get out there. Yeah. Thanks, James, and thanks to all the previous hard acts to follow. Yeah, I do my best. God knows what I'm going to say here because there's a couple of extra notes here, and Paul showed me how to do a bit of ad-libbing. Anyway, whatever. So the title of this poem is, and I've got to say this with the right inflection, or what's the word? Character? Don't know about that. Anyway, it says 3 words. It says, "Are you serious? Are you serious?" I think a lot of those questions throughout life have been against or directed towards authority figures. Okay. Hey, young man. Young fetus, something like that. 1943. The world's at war. The world's at war. Your family's at war. Some of us live in the nut house. We're bringing you out as a fetus. Get the message? Yes, I'm sorry. Don't want to be too explicit. We're bringing you out to do your best. Please don't act like a boyful pest. They're already telling me what to do. I'm hardly out of this anyway. Then my little comment comes in. Are you serious? A little bit of side stuff here. I've been a member of a fellowship called AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, for a while. I'm not here to break anyone's anonymity except mine, and I don't give a stuff whether you want to break my anonymity. It doesn't worry me. It's carried me along that mob for a lot of years, and I just want to mention something they do in those rooms, because a lot of alcoholics are tragedies and it's not pretty, some stuff, and yet somehow amongst it all we have to find a bit of levity or a bit of lightness or we die. And that's a very powerful thing. Anyway, I just want to mention one thing. It's not no secret society or nothing like that, but they have a rule in AA. It's called Rule 62. You're going to ask me, what the hell's that about? They got a big rule book. It's that flat. You walk in the rooms and you open the book up and the page is blank. And you keep turning it over and over and over. Every page is blank. What, there's no rules? And then you get to the middle spread and it's got Rule 62. This is not my poem, sorry, but I want to explain. Rule 62, and I'll tell you in polite language what it says. Don't talk yourself so goddamn, in brackets, serious. So that word serious confronts me. And, yeah. Get the balance. Okay, here I am, I'm growing up a little bit. This is my poem again, it's sort of a poem. Pull up your socks, start showing success. Do what you're told, don't act so bold. Learn to swim, I'll throw you in. I'm drowning, Dad. Just wave with arms and kick with legs. Are you serious, Dad? I remember that pool, wasn't pretty. Anyway, so, but I'm not bitching about it, it's life. Can I have a, my dad seems to be involved in the lot of this. Can I have a bite like my friends, please, good Dad? There's one in the shed, little boy. It's for you. Hey, Pop, I'm so blue. The tires are flat and it's covered in spiders. It's too bloody big and I keep falling off. Get back on, little whinger. You'll get used to it. Are you serious? Your hair's like a bodgy. Side levers are shocking. Your dad's home next week. Your locks make him freak. You're such a young hood. We think you're no good. Such a damn stinking rocker. You're truly a shocker. Are you serious, Mum? Shut up. Now, there is more of this stuff. This is just chapter 1. Come back if you want. We'll have a little more fun. Are you serious?
Well, there we go. How about that, eh? Look, thank you very much, Doug. Beautiful. All right. I found out a bit interesting stuff this week. You could fit 1,300 Earths into Jupiter. You could fit 1,000 Jupiters into the Sun, which would mean you could fit 1,300,000 Earths into the Sun, and you can fit 63 Earths into Uranus, 64 if you relax. Paul Wood, ladies and gentlemen.
That was a peculiar joke.
Okay, James. Enough of that, James. Alright. Now this fella's back. Here's your favourite. Now this fella's baked, not fried. He's punched and bored. He's drilled and reamed. Now this fella's not father's favourite, but his mother's choice. Now this fella thinks that the tooth fairy is a gay dentist and manual labour is a Spanish tennis player. Now this fella, he's not a vegetarian, he's not a vegan. he likes his meat, actually. Now, in his homeland of Queensland, he was once known as the Veggie Man.
How veggie?
Well, he's got cojones like pumpkins, he's got a portion like a marrow, he's got a heart like a cabbage.
And a brain like a pea.
Well, thanks, Mum. Now this fella, he's so unlucky if he fell into a barrel of tits, he'd come up sucking his stump. Now give this fella a great big hand now, come on.
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
Now, when we talk, James, we talking to the camera like we used to? Are we talking to the mic?
We're talking to the mic, right? Now tonight, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to sing a very unusual song, and that'll put it, I'm walking a tightrope in this one. Now, I would say this is one that the professor wouldn't even know in his great musicology. Now, we've got some new fans in various places, and one of our Newstruck fans is going to be a regular watcher, probably watch live on Facebook, is a person who was a past international diplomat for this country, was secretary to 2 Governor Generals, is an academic of a kind, shall we say, a mother of 6, and that girl is my sister. That's Sandy Gray Rogers, and I'll give a call out to Sandy. I'll give a call out to Dan, Kirsty, Olivia, Jordan, Asia, Carla, and I'm going to give a call out to Vicky Ryan, and Ronnie is a surfer. Vicky Campbell, and her husband, international surfer Ronnie, who is the man who invented a sausage roll on a roll. Now, before Ronnie invented that, it was unknown to man. He's the man who invented sausage roll on a roll, and he also pioneered a moth on a roll that's been wiped on someone's ass crack. He invented that too. So he's a great man, Ronnie. And I'll give a shout out to Ryan, Hannah and Jenna, future fans possibly, if they sort of relax from their high life and want to watch something a bit corny, they'll be there. So a big shout out to all those people. Again, I'll give a shout out to Marty and to Caroline, and to another person, Misha Arnold Stanoff, and her great man, Johnny Stanoff, who's the father of the future middleweight champion of the world, Ben Stanoff. Now, Ben's had one fight, and he is a boxing partner and a sparring partner to Caleb Plant, who fought Canelo Alvarez, so a very good guy. So keep an eye out for that fella. He's part of our family, and a big shout out to Ben as well. Okay, now tonight I'm going to talk. James, this thing's annoying me actually.
Don't use it.
No, yes, it's bugging me.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, I know I'm bugged for sure. Now I'm going to talk again for a few moments, if it's okay, just to fill in the dead space, the white space of this show, just to fill in a bit, do a bit of filling in.
No, please.
Yeah.
No. Spare us.
Yeah, no, you love it. You're loving it. You Luddites. So, I'm just going to mention again for the people, this is for the benefit of the world. Now, I know that the poets are so full, they're so full of, shall we say, art, so full of culture, so full of literature, that this is probably a bit boring and below their high standards, but this is for the world out there. And I'd like to mention again
just for tonight's topic, I'm going to mention again the Great Opera of Mephistopheles, by the great librettist Arrigo Boito, written in 1868. It was debuted at La Scala in Milan, and it was a bit unpopular. He cut it down, as I said last week. Now, I'm going to refer to the popular recording, which is on YouTube. So this is a YouTube guide. This is a YouTube guide. Now, anyone out there can, after the show, when the fun's over, when you got your bob's worth, you can watch this and enjoy it. Now, what I've done, because of the mass boredom, the blinding boredom of opera, I've cut it down to highlights. So, the great recording was done in 1958. I think it's on deck, I'm not sure. And it was done by Cesare Sipi, Renato Tebaldi, the great supreme soprano, Mario de Monaco, who is the greatest tenor that ever lived, possibly. And if you hear his voice, his voice was said to be liquid bronze. Massive voice, massively powerful guy. Now, I talked about my favourite, voce finta tenor, a small voice, a tiny voice, a beautiful voice, closed vowels, lovely, like a little boy singing. So there's a man, but beautiful, in a bel canto style. And as small and as rounded and beautiful and measured as Richard Conrad's voice was, Delmonico, if that was bel canto, Delmonico was can belto. He's the biggest buffo tenor ever. Powerful man, fantastic, beautiful tone, remarkable really, and you'll hear him on this record. So you look up Mephistopheles with an F on YouTube with the cast. Now there's others to watch, and this is not my favourite. Actually, the recording's a little bit mechanical, and I think it was done in a studio. And in a studio, the tension of the singers, yeah, go to sleep. That's it, have a no days. Suzanne, yeah, enjoy yourself. I think when there's a recording, the tension of a stage performance isn't there because the nerves can make bad moments or great moments. So it's a little bit mechanical, the recording, and it's a good recording. And it was the maestro of the recording was Giulio Serafin, who I believe was Professor, who I believe was the maestro of Milan. He was the concert maestro of Milan, and that's going back to the 20s. Now, this recording was in 1958, so whether it's the same man, I don't know, but he was a very old man at the time of recording, Serafin, or he was very young in his concert days at Milan. Anyway, never trust corduroy. So there it is. That's the one to look for. It's easy to find. That's kind of like the suburban standard of the opera. But there's other great moments that you can compare on other recordings through the magic of YouTube. So I'm going to say, now, if you, on that particular recording when you find it, if you scroll forward, now when you're watching this show, yeah, you'll be accustomed to scrolling forward, right? You'll be accustomed to scrolling forward. So if you scroll forward on that recording, the great baritone aria, which is called Sono Spirito Cenegra, which means the spirit of darkness, as sung by Cesare Sipi. That's, if you scroll forward to 45 minutes, then you'll hear this quite compressed, fantastic and mystical baritone piece, which they all do. Then if you scroll forward where, with Mephistopheles the devil and Enrico, who's Faust, who's become a young man, sorry Doug, it'll be over in a minute. But then, but
keep going. Quite illuminating.
You think you're bored now, but wait till the song comes. Right? No, you're gonna wish for opera. Okay. So scroll forward to 60-minute mark on that particular recording, and what happens in this moment of the opera, that the devil and Faust, who's now a young, handsome Enrico, he's called. He's a young, irresistible guy. Of course, the devil is so charming. And what happens in this garden scene? He meets and falls in love, or she falls in love with him, Marguerite, this innocent peasant girl. And they say that they say in some librettos that the mother, Marta, is, but it might not be, but a friend. And what happens? There's a magical quartet sung between the tenor, Delmonico, the wondrous soprano Tebaldi, and of course Cesare Seppi, who's the devil. Now, what happens? Martha is a contralto, and that's beautifully sung by Floriana Cavalli, and she's got a voice very similar in a contralto sense to Maria Callas. So it's a voice worth listening for in that big opera. Now, I don't know if she sings. I don't know if she sings the other part too. She might sing both parts of Helen of Troy, but anyway, whichever it is, watch out for that. Good. There's not much contralto singing it. And what happens in this garden scene? It's all right, Doug. Hey, Doug, stay in survival mode. Yeah, no, that's all right. The ground's shaking. So what happens in this scene? What happens in this scene, Professor? What happens in this scene is the Martha, the girlfriend or the companion, she is charmed by the devil, and in the libretto she says, "Oh, she says, surely you know all about love, because he's such a handsome cavalier." But he says, "No, I know nothing about love." So it's a very interesting play on words. I'm the devil, I know nothing about love. Of course, the women can't resist these two men, and in this scene, they have a very, very rapturous singing. It's sort of like, shall we say, a bit of a frolic in the garden, to put it mildly. So that's the highlight in that part.
Well, you blown my bubble, Paul. I thought they were talking about pizza.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, you've had a shot with life like I have. No, you know nothing. You know nothing of sex. You like Mephistopheles. You know nothing of anything.
Orgasms in Milano.
Yeah, no. Well, that's where it is, in Milano.
What about the gardener?
Well, he could be there. He could be there. I would say, yeah, probably there, just having a bit of a look. Anyway, we go to one of the final parts of the opera. You with me, Doug?
Is this the highlight, brother?
This is the highlight. The final part. Now, if you scroll forward, if you rush forward, like on this show, like you start, I get that day. Let your finger do the walking. If you scroll forward to 2 hours and 4 minutes into the opera, very much at the end of the opera, where it's closing down, to the epilogue, to the end of the opera, which is marvellous. But what happens in this particular scene? This is one of the greatest arias in opera, and this is a great moment in music, whether you're an opera fan or not. And that is a duet sung between Helen of Troy, or Helena, Helen of Troy, and Henry, Faust. And this was on John Carger's opera show. This was one of the little featurettes that started the show. This great voice of Delmonico. It's off the scale. He's fantastic. Such a big voice.
This
No, listen, stay on board, Doug. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. It's nearly over, Doug. No, yeah, you're doing all right. Anyway, so 2 hours and 4 minutes, scroll up there, and then you'll hear one of the greatest duets in music and in opera. Beautifully done. It's a great moment. It's a great moment where the two people say goodbye and they sing about the mystery of love. Of course, Helen of Troy. And in the sad story, of course, Faust, who's still mortal, even though he can go anywhere in the universe, have any woman he wants, see everything and do everything at any time or anything, he's still human. He still has a heart and soul. And so he's destroyed by the loss of these loves. And finally, finally he repents, you know, and doesn't, and his soul's taken up. And that's in the epilogue at the end, and that is the huge choir, big room choir, the cherubim. And okay, listen, I'm going to call it quits. You know? Yay! Wow! All right.
Found it very existential.
It is. It's very existential. Now, saying you should give me such a raspberry.
No, I was sincere.
No, but you know, no, though. Yeah, I know. Actually, very sincere. Yeah.
So, Paul, do you want the echo on your voice, like you said earlier?
No, I don't think I need it.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, put it on if you want it.
Yeah.
Okay. The concert master here is the maestro of the Rob Baker Orchestra. On camera now.
You're doing it in Italian or Serbo-Croatian?
Well, it could be anything. We wouldn't know. We have to look up his date. So, this song tonight, as soon as you give me such a raspberry, I might just pull out and not even sing.
Oh, no.
Well, let's do it this way. On last week's show, everyone had the benefit of a Mars bar. Now I didn't get a Mars bar.
No, you missed out.
No, I was behind the door. I was behind the door and missed out. So,
Beautiful.
I've been received a Mars bar from the audience. Gee. Well, I'm still a bit ambivalent, you know. I'm still a bit. Now this song, no one knows this song. No one knows this song. The professor, as a great musicologist, wouldn't know this song. And I don't know this song very well, but I'm going to give it a stab. But I'm going to probably have to need a bit more encouragement, seeing as I've been given such a bird. And let's put it this way. Although I'm a Mars bar fan, I'd much prefer a snigger. And if a snigger don't turn up, I'm not going to sing.
Hello, see me. Hello, see me. Piper, hello. See me.
There's the snigger.
Come on, that's it, baby. Where's the ad lib going? I need Snickers.
Now this is what happened. I mentioned some time ago that I went up to Queensland to watch the bike racing. You might remember.
Yeah.
James would remember that because, you know, Aldies, you know, James. Anyway, and I heard this strange song, and I tried to remember the song, so I got to YouTube and sort of found the song. So I'm going to give it a bit of a dig. It's not a conventional song that I'd sing. It's not a crying bluegrass song. It's not a country and western song. It's not some cornball folk song.
It's not a bloody opera.
It's not the bloody opera. Well, I'll tell you what, Doug, just for you, I'm going to have a stab at an opera song. Just for your sake. Right? Oh, you think you're in trouble now. All right. Now, this one's called,
You gotta make a name like that.
Jesus, I've forgotten it. This one, I think it's called It's All Been Done Before. Right? And that should be what we call some of the poems here. Okay.
Are you anti-poet?
Well, look, the parts need a touch up. They need a touch up, you know, like James is doing his best, but you guys got to lift up a little bit. Right? No, Doug's on the borderline, you know, it's his original gear, I like it, but these other guys got to just lift a little bit, you know, just a margin, a tad. Okay, this one's called It's All Been Done. Now, just want to give a bit of a plug for a snicker. Not a bad, chock full of peanuts, as I said, not a bad one. And I noticed when I read the wrapper before that they're made in China now, or the Mars or something. You wouldn't believe it, would you? Probably a good thing, actually. Okay, Doug, what was the song?
It's all been done.
It's all been done before.
What about El
Thanks, Bonnie.
Solomio?
Sol Solomeo.
El Solomio.
Well, in your case, be our Solomeo.
That's a person.
Yes, it is. Okay, well, we're giving it to me. Okay.
Solomio.
Okay, this one's called. I'm going to give it a go, folks. If I crash and burn and walk off, you can have a good life. All right. Okay, this one's called. It's all been done before.
It's all been done before.
It has been done before. As soon as it's been done before, good night.
Hey!
Okay.
That's not boring.
Come on, Paul, we're waiting.
Oh yeah.
That's not boring. It's been done before. We're still.
You know, Confucius said that it's a blessing, to be patient. You know,
We're still.
Okay. This one. No, this one. I'm stretching it out a bit because it's been a.
Let's hurry it up, please.
Oh, okay. James just give me the. He's just giving me the whip.
Hurry up.
All right. All right. This one's called.
Now Susan's falling asleep.
No. This one's called It's All Going to Be Poor. I'm going to give it a go for all the people out there. And it starts off like this. I met you before the fall of Rome, and I begged you if I could take you home. You were wrong, I was right. You said goodbye, I said good night. Ooh, it's all been done. Ooh, ooh, it's all been done. Ooh, ooh, it's all been done before. I knew you before the West was won, and you told me that the past was much more fun. You go your way, I'll go mine, but I'll see you next time. Ooh, it's all been done. Ooh, ooh, it's all been done. Ooh, ooh, it's all been done before. I put 3 fingers here, and if I say I love you, dear, and if I sing the same old chords, will you just yawn and oh, 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 it's all been done. Oh, 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 it's all been done. Oh, 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 it's all been done before. Alone and bored on a 30th century night, will I see you on The Price is Right? Will I cry? Will I smile when you run down the aisle? Ooh, it's all been done. Ooh, ooh, it's all been done. Ooh, ooh, it's all been done before. Ooh, it's all been done. Ooh, ooh, it's all been done. Ooh, ooh, it's all been done before.
Okay, show of hands. Who wants to have a 15-minute time limit?
Yeah.
Oh no, I thought that was very fascinating. That's a rare event in the world.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the timekeeper?
Well, 15 minutes, because if we got 8 people, that's a 2-hour show. Yeah? Harder.
Naomi needs to chime in.
Get that fella more time.
Hello. This is from a friend of mine, Paris Marie Borum, who's a poet, a First Nations poet, lives somewhere down the coast. I'm not exactly sure where. And something she sent to me to read and proofread and see if it was all right. And I thought it was all right. There's a couple of little sticky bits that were a little bit difficult to pronounce, but that's it. So this is for Paris, and I asked her to read this, and she said yes, I could read it out. To lighten the load upon a rough road, I fall in a wonderful dream. where golden plants bloom with honey perfume under a sky of ice cream. Paws walk about where waterfalls spout, soothing and smoothing my way. And with nature's tune I leave the cocoon to saltwater sands of gourmet. There on the shore where eagles' wings soar in beams from the sun on her set. Warm zephyr zen tempts me again where clapping sticks tap by the Met. Enticing with song crescendos prolong, nourishing richness within. And here in this place I love to embrace the dreamtime graces of kin. That's it. So, thanks very much to Paris for sending that to us.
What was the last word? The dreamtime embraces of?
The dreamtime graces of kin.
Kin, I think.
Yeah, graces of kin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice phrase.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like her poetry, by the way. Paris Marie Boreham, Boreham. So if you want to look her up on Facebook, and she's also on the website poetrysoup.com with I think around about 400 to 500 poems on there as well. And if you do write and you want somewhere to put your poems, poetrysoup.com, you can put them up there. It's one of a few places now. The next person coming up is Ashley.
Hey!
That one is 3-week hiatus, or 2-week hiatus, so this is 3 weeks now.
Well, I have a ruler, only one today. This is my hypothesis, that one will suffice to give that leitmotif effect and also remind you that every idea is finite. Every imaginary is finite. I'm just channeling Hobbes, the unknown philosopher. Now, I thought I would talk about quickly what I've been reading. The poetry of R.D. Fitzgerald. If one were to sit and read and meditate on his 3 great poems, The Hidden Bowl, Hems Kirk Shoal, 1648, and The Wind at My Door, if one were truly to go into them and have them come into you as an Australian, you would be just that. Nothing more, nothing less. So I had the wonderful experience in my early 70s to finally understand what those 3 great icons of words say to us. Now, I thought that I would read just 3 poems, and I was surprised because I chose to talk quickly and to read from the thoughts of the great J.S. Manifold, who was an expert on 1700 at 1750 opera at London, and was also a great figure of the communist movement in the 20th century. Ended his days at Wynnum running a culture club with people like Judith Rodriguez and Thomas Shapcott and David Malouf coming in and out of his colloquy. He wrote a number of books which are still studied, collecting Australian ballads and giving very accurate transcriptions of the original melodies and tunes that went with them. And in many ways he was a marvellous poet. And I will just read a couple of his works. He grew up with a gold spoon in his mouth, and he's in Toorak, I think, in Melbourne. And because he was radical politically, he had to sell the gold spoon for 5 or 6 silver forks. And he went off, as many of us have, and may yet do to finish his days in Brisbane. And the first poem I will read is something of the spirit of our Anzac weeks and the beginning of winter. Lieutenant John Learmonth of the AIF died in German captivity, and this is a very famous utterance. It has these words heading it. At the end on Crete, he took to the hills and said he'd fight it out with only a revolver. He was a great soldier, ... It reminds me as I speak these words that my father, but for a twist of fate, very nearly could have gone into German captivity or could have died on the hills of Crete. That's a story of destiny. Anyway, here's the tomb of Lieutenant John Learmonth, AIF. This is not sorrow, this is work. I build a cairn of words over a silent man, my friend John Learmonth, whom the Germans killed. There was no word of hero in his plan. Verse should have been his love and peace his trade, but history turned him to a partisan. Far from the battle as his bones are laid, Crete will remember him. Remember well, mountains of Crete, the 2nd Field Brigade. Say Crete, and there is little more to tell of muddled, tawless treachery, despair and black defeat resounding like a bell. But bring the magnifying focus near, and in contempt of muddle and defeat the old heroic virtues will appear. Australian blood, where hot and icy meet, James Hogg and Lermontov, what of his kin, lie still and fertilise the fields of Crete. Schoolboy, I watched his ballading begin. Billy and Bullocky and Billabong, our properties of childhood, all were in. I heard the air, through not the undersong, the fierceness and resolve, but all the same they're the tradition, and the tradition's strong. Swagman and bushranger, die hard, die game, die fighting, like that wild colonial boy, Jack Dowling says the Ballad was his name. He also spun his pistol like a toy, turned to the hills like wolf or kangaroo, and faced destruction with a bitter joy. His freedom gave him nothing else to do, and set his back against his family tree and fight the better for the fact he knew he was as good as dead. Because the sea was closed and the air dark and the land lost, they'll never capture me alive, said he. That's courage, chemically pure, uncrossed with sacrifice or duty or career, which counts and pays in ready coin the cost of holding course. Armies are not its sphere, where all's contrive to achieve its counterfeit. It swears with discipline, its volunteer. I could as hardly make a moral fit around it as around a lightning flash. There is no moral. That's the point of it, no moral. But I'm glad of this panache that sparkles as from flint, from us and steel, true to no crown nor presidential sash, nor flag nor fame. Let others mourn and feel. He died for nothing. Nothings have their place. While, nothings have their place. While the kind and civilized conceal this spring of unsuspected inward grace and look on death as equals, I'm filled with queer affection for the human race. I'll just go through those last words. I could as hardly make a moral fit around it as around a lightning flash. There's no moral, that's the point of it. No moral. But I'm glad of this panache that sparkles as from flint, from us and steel, true to no crown nor presidential sash. nor flag, nor fame. Let others mourn and feel he died for nothing. Nothings have their place, while thus the kind and civilized conceal this spring of unsuspected inward grace, and look on death as equals. I am filled with queer affection for the human race. And that poem of Manifold's has generated a great silence. This is the other side of the coin with him, I think. And I read it when I walked in to have lunch here, and I thought, as always, how charming and in its own way, how Australian, crossing the bridge from the tomb of Lieutenant John Learmonth to Chilianwalla Station. It's a short poem, and perhaps there's more in the mirror of us also in this. But it's a bigger island he's talking about than Little Creek. When his hopes of a colonelcy faded away, he retired to the colonies, still on half pay, preferring to Cheltenham, a Gulf country run and a heat of 110 in the sun. His cook was a Cantonese, Asian at least, who thought enough curry as good as a feast. And his ex-soldier servant from Antrim, named Barney, used to rouse the black stockman in bad Hindustani. He kept his fair flag of the empire afloat by wearing a tunic done up to the throat, and the style of his most conversational speeches had its thumbs well in line with the seam of his breeches. He played a straight bat and a good hand at solo. He would ride 40 miles for a chukka of polo, so the district forgave him his finical pride, which demurred for so long, selecting a bride. Then the seasons got worse, and the banks took a hand. They called in the mortgage they held on his land, and the Major was found in the harness room, shot through the head with his old-fashioned Wesleyan Scott. The jury said, "Accident, no one's to blame," and the Major was buried, leaving only the name Chilianwalla in letters some 8 inches high on the gate of the stock route to remember him by. Except that old Barney's the grandfather now of a quarter caste family, no one knows how, who have never been coached since the Major passed on, but who ride like the Ashtons and bat like the Don. Final comment about Australians in opera. I suppose this is an Italian joke there. Italians always say, how fascinating that Australians are so fascinated by opera. And that's the joke.
Well, thanks very much, Ashley. Lovely, beautifully read poem. Well, it's to echo and thanks for echo off. Cool, thanks. We're up to Gabriel. Wow. Gabriel Donleavy. Yeah.
A man who has just returned from the black hole.
With a big horn.
The black hole of Auschwitz and all of that.
I thought I would do something a shade different, especially after last time trying to get on with something to say about Auschwitz that wasn't off. And my inspiration light comes from halfway through my life, when I decided that instead of running away from all the cliches associated with my name, I would actually run towards them. So I learnt the trumpet, but I only play it by ear. And when I wanted to get unwelcome guests out of the house, always worked. But when I lived in Hong Kong and I did it, it had the opposite effect, and people would come down and say, "Can we sit in, or are you deaf?" But the style that I want to do this in is from a time just before, not all of us were born, but before we were all going to film theatre and the rest of it, and it's the beatnik style. If you've seen Wayne's World, or if you've seen 40s, 50s jazz films, what they used to do, and what they still do in a couple of cafes in San Francisco, is intersperse each poem with a tiny little jazzy riff. You know, always over ambitious and willing to fall over. I'm going to do that. My direct experience of beatnik was when I was like 5, 6, 7, and I lived in Birmingham, England, and they had quite a few little functions, and I go and I didn't understand them. And then much later on, one of my most serious relationships was with a woman who, before she became a witch, literally a witch, had been a beatnik and used to sleep under the arches outside Waterloo Station with the others. And she introduced me to quite a lot of stuff. And my other connection was when I was at university, the university invited, oh God, his name's gone now, famous American guy who did Howl. Ginsberg. Yes, the very guy, Allen Ginsberg. And he slept on my floor in college, both drunk and high at the same time. He didn't compose anything. And I'm still very friendly with the daughter of this lady. The lady passed away. And she said, I've never heard you play a trumpet. Well, maybe she won't this time either, but I shall attempt, with very short riffs in between each of these things. And I'm going to do 7 poems, but each one is a haiku. That's really short. And you won't need to look at your watches, I don't think. So, first one, The Impossibility of Quarantine is its title. Jail the squirming germ, ring right round the rabbit rat. Life is death, that's that. Enough. Next one.
Back to Hong Kong, Professor. I love it.
Ah, brilliant. The next one's called Mo Gween, which is Cantonese for a long time no see. So, that's Mo Gween. Hello, my old friend. 10 years since our paths last crossed. Then, 2 empty eyes, 2 T-double. It's called Swansea. Swansea, town in Wales. Comedian Rob Brydon comes from it. And Catherine Zeta-Jones, Mrs. Michael Douglas. So here we go. Swansea sounds so smart. White on blue. Welshman mind art. Don't inhale its fart. Coniferous. This is dedicated to the 50s singer Connie Francis. Connie's mind has a heart of its own. Fifth one, banana custard. In banana tree, up high, mellow birds. That's a kind of custard.
Yellow bird.
That's why I say mellow birds.
Yellow bird.
That's what it's a play on both of them.
Give it a blow.
That's right. Number 6 is called Westlake Sign, and it's almost literally what I saw when I first went to Hangzhou outside of China, on a street sign where they have an English translation of the Chinese on the sign. Do lustre to your streets, spit straight.
Practicing.
And mercifully, the last one is called Safe War, very topical. Beware high-flying NATO paths with eyes wide shut.
Best closer ever.
Well, I've got my beatnik hat on now, so here I am with my beret.
Nice.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. That was brilliant. Lovely. Yeah. And the farts in the trumpet. All right. I've got a couple to go, and then we're all over and done with for the evening. Unless anyone else wants to say something. No. All right. This one was written, well, in a car sort of from Uralla to between here and Uralla and here. And it started in this really quiet sort of period, and it was sort of about how going from a really quite meditative experience to how noise and interruptions and thoughts and stuff come in, and then trying to pull it back to that peace right at the end. In the silence of nothing, there's be here now. In the absence of thought, there's peace somehow. In the quietest moments, the silence is loud. Some clouds are quiet, not thunderclouds. Encoding the following information, only you cause yourself frustration and choose to accept, or be made mad by anger, frustration, and get sad. Stop, take a deep breath, and inhale. Hold for 5 seconds. And slowly exhale. Pause. Witness. Look around. A flock of birds lands on the ground. Take time. Discard it. Be here now. Have you ever seen a clock watching cow? No. And cockatoos don't watch news, they don't have opinions or point of views. If you live on the main road, you will get a lot of traffic noise. Cocktail frankfurts are known as little boys. It's important to keep your dog safe in your home so you can knick-knack, paddywhack, give your dog a bone. And just breathe. So the idea of that was to go from that sort of quiet and then slowly introduce the mind chatter at the end until it was just nonsense. And then pull it back to the just breathe. Well, I said I was only going to do 2 more, so that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do the one I wrote for my mum, or the one for Mother's Day, or the one I did for my dad for his birthday. Instead, I'm going to write one, I'm going to do one that I wrote because I wanted to write something silly. And this was what happened early, this morning, actually. Yeah. It was a rainy Wednesday and I was looking out my door when I saw a crocodile, a dolphin and a swimming dinosaur. A cow floated by and it was still chewing on its cud. That was when I realised it's the wet Wednesday flood. Because I'm up 133,000 metres up on top of a mountain. And the rain was falling heavily like some kind of fountain. A squid swam by and it was followed by a shark. That was when I knew it was time to get into the ark. The water was gushing quickly. It was a real goer. So I knocked on the ark door and was greeted by Noah. We sat at the table and drank mushroom tea. In the ark there was Noah, thousands of animals and me. Then Noah said, I can't wait any longer for the 2 unicorns. So he pulled up the gangway, blew the ark's departure horn. We sailed off, and after 40 nights and days, we were greeted by a dove who flew in from far away. The dove said, Hi Noah, my name's Love Dove Bill, and if you follow me, I'll show you to Bill's Hill. Well, we landed on the hill and the water all went down. And then who should drop in but a parachuting clown? And there, up above us, shining bright and very high, was a glorious, beautiful rainbow shining in the sky. But there was something amiss. I had begun to feel there was something odd, that this might not be real. A parachuting clown and a swimming dinosaur on an ark without unicorns and thousands of animals and more. The next thing that happened, I really have to mention, I was teleported by ETs to the 69th dimension, where everyone shares a bed and sleeps head to toe in the 69th dimension where all the suckers go. I wanted to go home and I realised I have free choice, so I yelled and clicked my heels and yelled, There's no place like home, at the top of my voice. Suddenly I found myself at home sitting in my bed. Was it real? In my head? Or had I astral travelled instead? Okay. Alright lads, so yeah, I've just taken you on another one of those weird journeys through my mind, my imagination. I want some. Come with me and I'll take you on a dream through my imagination. On a trip, I should say, I don't know. Yeah. With a giant glass elevator and a chocolate factory. Yeah. And I could have, like, you know, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard sitting in my bed. And No. Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka, isn't he? Yeah. All right. Well, that's it here from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame.
Willy Wonka.
From me. Really? Okay. He's got one arm bigger than the other, doesn't he?
Let's clap him. Come on.
Thank you. Subscribe and like this video and everything. Thank you. Good night. We'll see you next week.